Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 171 of the Backlot 605 podcast. We are here on week number 3 of Viola Davis month, here for the month of February. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Casey Kelderman. Joined with me, as always, is one of my other co-hosts, Sam Lenz.
Hey, what's up?
What is up, Sam? We are missing Brian this week, unfortunately. He is on twin duty, so he is unfortunately not able to make this. And maybe he ate a chocolate pie. I don't know. I've heard it's twins, but it could be the chocolate pie.
Yes, they gotta stay away from no pies.
Too soon to be joking about the pies, Casey.
I'm sorry. There's going to be plenty of pie jokes on this episode, Sam. This week we are talking about the 2011 film The Help, which does star Viola Davis and maybe one of her most notable roles in her entire career. And we are going to be joined right here on this episode by fellow South Dakota movie podcasters, Doug and Marcus from Films in Black and White. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us. I'm excited to talk about some pie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's cut right into it.
Let's get right to it. What's your favorite type of brown pie?
We're just going to talk about films with pie, American Pie, Life of Pie.
Oof. That gets dark very quickly because everything you do with a pie in a movie is never good. You either shit in it or
it turns out well.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be cussing up here, but yeah, sorry, my bad. Yep. I forgot. This isn't our podcast. Sorry.
You're good. You can swear, especially if you're going to talk about American Pie. You can't talk about American Pie without saying, "Hey, look, there's Jason Biggs, that guy that fucked that pie."
He did.
That's true.
You put a dick in a pie, shit in a pie. Everything that ain't supposed to be in a pie has been in a pie in the movie.
I mean, you could even
and
put people in a pie.
Or Peach from Call Me by Your Name.
That's
yeah.
Jesus. Man,
like, what does that peach do to deserve that?
It brings new meaning to James and the Giant Peach. I hope it's not the same one.
It does. That peach was thick with 2 C's, though. I can't lie to you.
It absolutely was.
Good, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I am sure this is many of the great conversations that can be found on Films in Black and White. So, gentlemen, I'm going to throw it off to you guys right away. Let's talk about your show a little bit, what it is, what you guys do. First of all, I want to ask, what was your first episode on? Do you remember?
Oh, I do remember, and I do remember because we are. So Films in Black and White, I'll tell you about what we are, and then I'll tell our first episode. So we're a podcast that covers movies, comics. We typically stray into the comic book movie realm a little bit more, but we cover everything. So really we just kind of watch what's recent, and then Marcus and then another co-host of ours, Brian, who actually just had a baby, so could not join us today.
The Bryans are missing today.
The Bryans are missing.
Bryans and babies.
This is a Brian-free podcast today. So yeah, we just kind of dive into it. So, and then we also cover movie news, headlines, trailers, big things like that. So, and we're a weekly show, so we come out every Wednesday, and then we live stream on Monday nights, similar to you all. And our first episode, so I went back, so we're just about to celebrate our 100th episode actually next week.
Woo!
And so
yes,
and so on Wednesday we're doing a re-release of episode 1, and that is a very interesting episode because I have on record Marcus's thoughts about Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman. So
I was not happy. I was not happy. Spoiler
no, he
alert.
was not. And so he goes on this 5-minute tear about how he's not thrilled that Pattinson got cast. He also starts saying the suit doesn't look right because it's got a weird cowl.
Had a fucking collar on it. It was just so who puts a collar on? The description people were given was oh, it's gonna be a stick-up collar like the comics. I looked that shit up. The collar was this high. I was like, who wants to watch Batman in a goddamn collar?
True. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And we talked about The Mandalorian. So it was a news episode was our very first one where we kind of dove into things. And it's just interesting to see where we're at then and where we're at now. We filmed it
on our phone, and we filmed it in a random office. So we recorded it through Anchor when you can only do a certain amount of sessions.
Yes.
And then you can do 30 minutes. And we filmed in a random office at our jobs. And that was how we did it. That was our first episode.
Yeah, so the audio's kind of
That's
crazy,
awesome.
but it's fun to dive into and look back at. That's also where we first talk about getting a Snyder cut at one point in time. So
Yes.
all the way back on episode 1. So
Nice.
hey, it'll be interesting to give it a full listen. I'm still working on the edit, but yeah, that's a little bit about what episode 1's about.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Cool.
I'll ask this then, Marcus. Have you changed your mind on Robert Pattinson?
I have a lot actually. And Zoe Kravitz has a lot to do with it. Not that she said anything about him, just because she looks so goddamn good. I just feel like he made the right decision. He had to have known she was going to be Catwoman and was like, "Yes, I'll do it." So I don't blame him. You know,
No, not at all.
I don't blame him at all. So no, it has changed a lot, especially with the trailers that have been dropping. And one thing I really enjoy is they didn't show the whole damn movie in these trailers. They keep showing you the same sequences. They keep showing you itsy bitsy, like small pieces of what the movie is about. So I still don't know what it's about. I've grown accustomed to seeing him in the bat suit. And I feel like I'm seeing him outside of this, like, what was that goddamn movie?
Twilight.
Twilight. It was Twilight.
It was Twilight.
Twilight, like this pale, looks kind of wet, looks kind of musty kind of version of Robert Pattinson. And now I'm seeing him like as an adult and showing some personality.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, like I get it now. I get why he was casted. So it'll be interesting.
I think also hearing about his process too has changed too, because I think I didn't realize the like he's done a lot of interviews about how he's thought about the character and the backstory and that. So I've actually warmed up to it a little bit too, of like it's going to be a different type of Batman, and the stories of how this movie was written and just the process for things is nuts. Like the director saying he just listened to Nirvana while he was writing the script, and that has a lot of influence. Blows my mind. Like, hey, okay, whatever floats your boat, man. If that were the same case, my work emails would have a lot of Eminem influence, which is dangerous for work. So we got to be careful. You got to be careful with that. So let's hope that's for the better.
I was just going to say, Sam, I think you mentioned that on the show when we were talking about Robert Pattinson one time, that his Batman just looks like he listens to Nevermind on repeat.
It's it.
100%. Like, they definitely, and they gave him, like, okay, so here's my thing. Robert Pattinson has incredible hair, right? Like, the actor Robert Pattinson has always had incredible hair. They gave him the shittiest wig in this movie, or like, who decided to make Bruce Wayne like? I'm like, come on, at least let him have the actual Cobain look. Like, if you're gonna like be like he's like Kurt Cobain, make him look like Kurt Cobain.
Give him the longer hair.
Yeah,
right.
No, but Bruce does look Bruce looks like he's battling some real demons. Like, I don't think there's been an interpretation of Bruce that looks like he's battling demons. Like everybody else is all dolled up, 3-piece suit. It always looks good.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson walks out the house like, yes, bitch, I'm Batman. You should know this. Like, by the way that I look. Like, I don't do nothing but fight crime and sleep during the day.
Yeah.
He looks like a sexier Michael Keaton Batman.
Just the hair. It's like if Michael Keaton went left with if Tim Burton wanted to go full Tim Burton, that's exactly what Robert Pattinson looks like.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
But
and
I'm excited.
Use CG to make Robert Pattinson's eyes like this big,
right?
You know, as Tim Burton does.
Right. We love Timmy, or give somebody else to do the damn work, like like Tim Burton does.
Yeah, like Nightmare, which I could go at length as to That's what
here's what I hate though. I'm hating all of the fake Batman hate on TikTok. Like it's a trend now to hate.
Apologies. I don't understand.
Oh well, my Google's talking to me, which means somebody's listening. So I feel like there's a lot of fake TikTok hate about Batman, like, oh, Batman's a whack character and blah 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 blah, and he should be. But like, people only know the movies. I don't think people are reading comic books anymore. Like the old versions of like why Batman is that motherfucker. And I'm just kind of tired of the fake TikTok hate because people don't really read comics no more, or like they read one version and then they solidify and they're just like, yep. And that's the Batman I know and love.
We closed that book.
That's like a waste of time. So stop fake hating on TikTok.
It's great advice.
You know, it's interesting that that you bring that up, because Batman is one of those characters where you hear people have these like hot takes every couple months where it's like, oh, if he really wanted to help the city, he would just spend his billions of dollars on infrastructure. And I'm like, a clown's trying to poison the city with like freaking hair products. Like, what is infrastructure going to do to that?
What about your government
James
officials?
Bond spent less on his 3-piece suit. Like Rami Malek wouldn't be trying to poison the world. Like, no, that's not how this works.
That's a good point.
Fucking movie.
If anything, an improved infrastructure would make the Joker's job easier. So by making it and leaving it shitty, it's actually just keeping those impediments in place. So
exactly,
that's true.
Batman knows that he needs to keep the status quo up there because all of his villains are actually poor, and it makes it more difficult for them to do crime when they can't.
When they don't have access.
When they don't have access to yeah.
If they can't pull themselves up by their evil bootstraps, they're all fine. Like there's nothing that they can do.
There you go.
If Calendar Man can't make it, are any of us?
Right. This is a great point. And I think that's you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. But
I'm gonna transition this into The Help. Ready? You know who's a great Batman villain?
Viola Davis?
Viola Davis in the Suicide Squad. Who plays Amanda Waller.
There you go.
That's a hell of a tie-in. That was great because I was lost as hell.
That's the only way I could think of connecting.
That was great.
I don't know anyone else in this movie that can connect to Batman. And in terms of being in a Batman movie. But Viola Davis, she was in a Batman movie. She's also in The Help. From 2011, directed by Tate Taylor, written by Tate Taylor, based on the novel by Catherine Stockett. I'm going to just rattle off this cast right away because I think that's the big standout here of how big this cast is and how star-studded it is. We have, like I said, Viola Davis, Emma Stone, Octavia Spencer, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jessica Chastain, Allison Janney, Sissy Spacek, Christopher Lowell, Anna Camp. She's in this. She's not good in it, but she's in it. That's the majority of this star-studded cast. I'm going to ask our first question right away, and I'll throw it off to our guest. I'll start with Doug. Have you seen The Help before? And if you haven't, what was your initial first thoughts?
I have. So here's the story of this movie. So on Saturday, I pitched it over to my wife. I'm like, we got to watch The Help. We got a podcast coming up on Monday. We got to make sure we get through it. And for the first half, I went, man, I feel like this movie is longer because I had seen it before, but I feel like I caught it right at the part where I believe it's Jessica Chastain has the miscarriage, and I've caught it at that, like whether it's on TV or it's on like HBO or something. I feel like I caught it at that point and saw it forward, but never saw the first like 2/3 or however long it was through. So my experience with this on Saturday was like, this feels longer. I like noticeably not bad, but I just was like, this feels longer. There's a lot I didn't know. Like I never got caught the first part. I mean, I could piece it together based on the end, but I had seen it before. And so, but that was just my experience with it on Saturday of like, I feel like I've missed this first half. And I remember because I like paused it right after the miscarriage and I looked at my wife and I went, yeah, now I know this movie. And before then, I was lost for a majority of it.
That's such an interesting point to like get enthusiasm in your voice. Like,
it's like, yeah, right here.
Like, right here. Like, remember? Like,
you see this horrifying part? You see this part that the like a terrible part any woman should have to endure? I remember this.
I remember this vividly.
But yeah, that's a little bit of my backstory with The Help.
I mean, it is 2 hours and this movie is 2 hours and 26 minutes long.
I was shocked. I was just going to watch it this morning before work, and I didn't even get all of it done before work. I was like, oh my God, there's more of this. So I had to finish it when I got home.
It's a doozy. And so like, I worked at, this is a weird story, but I used to work at Subway. And when I used to work at Subway, there was this nice lady. She was a super nice lady in town. She would occasionally we got into a habit of bringing me books that she would finish. So she actually bought me The Help after she got done with it, after she bought it like at some store or something like that. And she was like, oh, here you go. I just want to give you The Help. No ill will in it. Usually somebody give you a book like The Help. They're like, you black, so here's a black book. And it's like, I don't really want this black book. So, but this one, she didn't really mean anything by it. She was just like, here's a book. She used to give me all kind of books. And so I read half of The Help. And then I'm like, Doug, my dad has seen The Help, I think 100 times. He could quote it like front and back. I've seen it on TV and always catch certain points. So I'm either catching the last 30 minutes, the middle 30 minutes, or the first 10. But I'm never catching everything in full.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of interesting. And when I looked, I was like, man, I was like, Doug, this is long. 2 hours and 26 minutes. And that explains a lot.
Yep.
So
yeah. How about you all? Have you seen it before this weekend, or had you just your experience with it?
So, I mean, I feel like I'd seen bits and pieces of it over the years. I knew about this movie. It just wasn't one like that I was watching circa 2011, where like everything in my world was the Avengers and nothing else.
Yep.
But
that's a good point.
Yeah, I've branched out a little bit now, thank God. But you know, at that time I just wasn't watching movies like this very much. Just dramas in general. I wasn't into the Oscar stuff. Yeah, I so this was like a pretty fresh watch for me. There were bits and pieces and key moments I remembered, but yeah, like I was pretty wowed by this, especially like I'd say the last like 5 minutes with Viola Davis. Just, I mean, they wrecked me. Like, I was really glad that I was able to finish this with some time to process before we actually started talking.
Oh, sure.
I was kind of a mess at the end of it. I was like, oh my God, this is like, this hit me really hard.
Yeah.
So this was, I'd say this is first time watch for me, and very good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, like you guys, I had seen like clips and pieces of this movie because it's one of those movies that is always on TV. Yeah, it has that same vibe too of like Shawshank Redemption or Green Mile or Forrest Gump. Like it's always on TV on some channel, and you're gonna catch 5-10 minutes here. Yep. But if you sit down and watch the movie beginning to end, you're like, yeah, this is really long.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw it on HBO Max or whatever I watched it on, I was like, 2.5 hours? Really? Like it doesn't ever seem like this is that movie. It feels like probably an hour 50, 2 hours. But that being said, it doesn't ever feel like 2.5 hours.
No,
sitting and watching it, it feels like this is an easy breezy movie to watch. Like it does have some heavier elements to it, but it kind of like Shawshank Redemption, where it does have those heavy elements. It's a fun movie to watch still. Like you're never bored. It's very well paced. It's constantly moving forward. And my wife had seen this movie many times, and she's like, "You've never seen this before?" I'm like, no. And then when we got to the pie scene, she's like, "So you have no idea what the pie is about?" I'm like, "No, I don't have any clue what this pie is about." And she just starts losing it. And I'm like, I guess we'll see what happens. And when it gets to the reveal, it's like, oh, that's why the pie is so infamous. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
But like Sam, I wasn't watching The Help in 2011. I was sophomore in high school. I was not paying attention to award season movies. I was like Sam watching Thor in the theater or Chronicle. Those were the type of movies I was watching. So
Great
The
movie.
Help was not in that category.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I feel like my okay, so because I am black, I don't know if anybody listening. So because I am black, there are certain movies that my family is like, you just have to watch. It's like kind of like Malcolm X. It's kind of like, Muhammad Ali. There are these big movies that you have to watch, or there are things that you have to experience because it's an important part of the culture. And I felt like this was one of those. Like, even though I was heavily into, like, I vividly remember watching and then rewatching Chronicle. Michael B. Jordan was in that shit. Like, just thinking back on it, just like right in the moment. And then you look at Thor was in there. We thought that was the greatest thing ever to see fucking Hawkeye in the middle of the rain and like aiming for Thor. We never thought it would be what it is today, right? Then you look at The Help, and it's like The Help was able to poke itself through, I would say, prime comic book sci-fi movie era, 2011.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Like it was a solid foundation for where we are now. So for me, I was, you're supposed to watch this kind of stuff. I think I was about a sophomore in high school too, actually thinking about it. I graduated 2013. Yeah, I think I was about a sophomore. I was about a sophomore in high school. You're supposed to watch this stuff. Never really paid attention because in the moment it's like I'm black. I live this. There's no need for me to watch this.
Yeah.
Until you watch it and then you say, okay, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
Especially as a black man. That's the other thing. This is a cast of predominantly women, and I think that that's important to note. Is like as a man watching this, and then as a black man, my experience watching it looks completely different because the life that they are living is. My experience, the experiences are just different. And it's a story told from 3 different people's perspective. So that also kind of lends to the 2 hours and 26 minutes in order to get it right.
Yeah. I did a quick Google. I did a quick IMDb of the movies that came out in 2011. And this assessment that it like cut through like superhero big budget action movie is a great point, because if you just look at like the top 25, there are not many that dive into this subject matter at all. Like it's Warrior, Scream 4, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was 2011.
Sheesh.
Was the first Hunger Games this year too?
I'm not seeing it on the list, but this is just the
Hunger
top
Games
50.
Was 2012, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was big, and this was also the part where like I feel like Emma Stone really started to take off too, because she had a couple in here. So Crazy Stupid Love was also 2011. So she was Crazy Stupid Love, and then The Help. Yeah.
That's kind of where I want to start, since we're going to talk about this cast and we're going to jump into everybody here. First, let's get into what this movie's about, and then I'm going to jump into the Emma Stone thing. The movie is about an aspiring author during the civil rights movement of the 1960s who decides to write a book detailing the African-American maid's point of view of the white families for which they work and the hardships they go through on a daily basis. Emma Stone in this movie is a real standout because you look at, like we said, 2011. It's a very different time than it is now, 11 years removed from that. Emma Stone is still relatively new to being a mainstream actress, because Superbad is kind of the first big one. That was 2008. So
this is still pretty much the girl from Superbad at that point.
Yeah, she's the girl from Superbad. Easy A might have been the year before.
Just thinking, I was about to call it Scarlet Letter. It's Easy A. Yep.
Zombieland and Easy A were 2009 and 2010 respectively.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's still in the comedy realm of that's how she's making her name and building up towards that. This, and you guys can correct me if you think of any other early Emma Stones. This is her first big dramatic role of like people capturing like, oh wow, the girl from Superbad and the Rocker can actually deliver a dramatic performance.
I forgot about the Rocker.
The Rocker rules. Come on.
It does. It's so good.
No, I don't think she had ventured in that at all. So I think this highlights again, which is a good point of like, this is her flexing her acting chops for sure, which is really nice to see. And then on top of that, to like pair that with the same year as Crazy Stupid Love and having a little bit of a dramatic role there too, kind of dramedy a little bit, but still incredible performance and not in her like wheelhouse, because in addition to those other movies, she was also on a couple episodes of Robot Chicken in the same year. So this really was her like first year as a big deal actress for sure.
Yeah. I mean that's right. I mean, we look at Emma Stone now, most well known for, I'll say, Gwen Stacy. Now, right, currently, right now, before, because there's always different section. I feel like more of the younger generation see her, and now that she's experienced, they would know her, and probably more for Gwen Stacy because superhero movies exist. But she was also in Friends with Benefits, Irrational. She was in a lot of stuff. Yeah, she was in La La Land.
Incredible in La La Land.
Yeah, she was great. And it's interesting. What's interesting to me is every actor, actress, person who acts goes through this like transition of, they go from one type of genre to the next, and you never know how they're going to transition over. Kind of like Anne Hathaway kind of had the same thing when she did.
Oh, for sure.
What was that? Princess Bride?
Yeah.
When she did Princess Bride and then
Diaries.
Yeah, Princess Diaries. Thank you. Yep. Princess Diaries. And then she transitioned over to, I can't remember what movie it was, but it was a very serious role. And it was kind of like, I I don't know if you could do that. Then she does it, and you're like, okay, she could do anything. And so this was, I feel like, Emma Stone's moment to show she could be the lead and she could do that.
Yeah.
Even looking at all three leads in this is like a big game changer in all of their careers. Because Octavia Spencer before this too is
that's true.
A supporting role in most things.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a supporting actress in this too, but she is definitely the third lead of this movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
And kind of since this, it's like, no, Octavia Spencer, she's now an A-list actress. She's going to be your lead, your one lead in the movie.
Yeah.
Tate Taylor is
Best Supporting Actress, got a Golden Globe Award for Octavia Spencer and Academy Award for Best Actress in Supporting Role too as well. So she did what she's supposed to do.
I would even say that for Jessica Chastain, same deal. Yeah, she wasn't really. She had been in a couple episodes, but wasn't anything like huge. And then she did The Help, and then the next few years after that, she does Zero Dark 30. Yep. And then she did Interstellar after that. So yeah, this was a big kickoff point for a lot of folks. Yeah. I love that movie.
Well, I mean, you have all of these people who, I mean, even like Bryce Dallas Howard. I know she was in Spider-Man 3, but even after that, it wasn't like Bryce Dallas Howard was like, in like The Village and some M. Night movies, because she was Lady in the Water.
She's the lead in Lady in the Water,
Yep.
But this movie just felt like, for everyone involved, that it was just something a little bit more, it was that next step. It was that evolution. Because Octavia Spencer, I don't remember hearing a lot about Octavia Spencer before this movie. And after this movie, Octavia Spencer was everywhere. And now people are wanting a Ma 2. And that's a movie that's entirely sold off of like the image of her face.
That's true.
That's
true.
Octavia
that's
Spencer's
very true.
movie. I think that's incredible. The trajectory her career has gone on in just the past 10 years or so. She's working hard, and it's paying off in spades, and she's incredible in this movie. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I think and now I'm looking, so like, I want to give Octavia Spencer her moment in the sun, but now, like, for the reason we all hear, Viola Davis is just something different though. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, for her to be, and this was, I think, the first thing I knew Viola Davis for, me personally. This was the first thing I seen her in, that she became recognizable to me moving forward. But you see her in this, and it's just like, she's an older Black actress who I'm sure has been in a variety of things before this.
Yep.
Right. But this is the one where it really kind of felt like it was like the rocket that kind of took her to everything that's on both TV and in movies, and she just could do it all. Like, if you want somebody who can be versatile, when I saw Widows, I said, damn, she is really kissing Liam Neeson like that, like tongue kissing Liam Neeson. And I said, this is gross, but she's a great actress. And so she stands apart in this movie.
In that movie is acting attracted.
It's kissing him like she loved it, man. I'm like, can y'all please just stop? Good Lord. You proved the point.
Yeah, it's one of those moments you're like, should I be watching this? Like, is this a private moment, or should I can go somewhere else?
Private camera? Like, what is this?
One of the things I love about Viola Davis too is she's not someone who like goes under like heavy prosthetics a lot for her roles.
Yeah.
At the time, I can't tell it's Viola Davis. You know what I mean? In this one especially, like, I was like, that's not Viola Davis's character, is it? Like, the first minute she's on screen, I'm like, that's not Viola Davis, is it? Oh my God, that's Viola Davis. Like, it just takes you a while to like realize, because she changes so much between roles. She just becomes whoever she's been hired to portray.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Like, everything, her body language, her voice, her mannerisms, just nothing is held over from Viola Davis. Every character she has is just like a complete on its own thing.
Yeah.
So there was this movie on Netflix. It was the last movie Chadwick Boseman was in before he passed away. Was it Ma Rainey's Black Bottom?
Yes.
And to your point, when you look at her play Amanda Waller, she has a completely different swagger to her. She's
Mhm.
like upright, confident. She's gonna give that shit like, I'm Amanda Waller. You gonna listen to what the fuck I gotta say. You look at Ma Rainey Black Bottom, completely changes. You look at this movie where it's more like the stresses of the time, the lower confidence, all of this stuff that they have to endure and go through. You could see it absolutely through her body language, and very rarely, like you said, does she do any prosthetic changes. It's all facial. It's all like the emotion that gives into it, the way she walks it, the way she talks it, makes you believe she is whatever character she is. That's who she is.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of crazy, but I think that's one of the things that sets her apart.
And I think to her credit, I think the reason why she can flex that so much is that earlier in her career, she did a lot of work on stage. She did Broadway she did Broadway shows of like William Shakespeare. I'm just doing a cursory like Wikipedia glance, but like she was nominated for a Tony Award for her work on Seven Guitars, which is an August Wilson play. So like she's been working on like stuff like that, and one gets good at like not needing prosthetics to convey their age and their position and their experience in life through doing it on stage, because those are typically just a little bit of makeup and that's it. It's not typically like full on prosthesis. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and she's relatively late to the film game too, because I was just again pulling up her IMDb and just looking at this. I was like, when did Viola Davis kind of show up as it's Viola Davis? It's kind of this movie, because 5 years before she was in the movie World Trade Center, if you guys remember that movie.
Okay.
She's credited as Mother in Hospital.
Oh. Yeah.
So 5 years before, she's Mother in Hospital as a character name.
Yeah.
To being nominated for an Academy Award for The Help.
I think I'd probably recognize her from Law and Order too, because I was looking at the same list because that was like a ritual in our house, like my wife and I settling down on Sunday and just watching Law and Order till we can't anymore. So I'm sure I've recognized her as the lawyer somewhere.
That's really interesting. I've never been a fan of Law and Order like that.
Yeah,
but they keep getting spinoffs, and I just saw a new Law and Order commercial today with Anthony Anderson, and it was like back to the original. I was like, where the fuck have we been this whole time?
That's because Anthony Anderson, like back in the early 2000s, was on just Law and Order, no spinoff. So he was
no SVU. It's just I'm not gonna fall down this rabbit hole.
We don't have to do this. We can do this another time.
Yeah, you're not gonna fool me. I know what the fuck going on. This is about Viola Davis and not no goddamn Law and Order.
That's exactly what it's about.
You know,
it is about Viola Davis.
Viola Davis was actually in TV was how to get away with murder.
How to get away with murder.
Yeah. I remember watching the first season as that came out, and then I never watched it past that first season. But I just remember like watching that and being like, God, she is really good.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I think I watched that show, was she was just so good, because the rest of it was just kind of like meh.
Again, that's a show great. Sold on Viola Davis.
It's strictly sold on
show.
Yes, 100%. It is strictly so. People only watch that because of Viola Davis and the precedent she set before accepting that role. And I think it was kind of, to me, it's funny you say that. It was a shocker that she was doing a show like this, because you see like Grey's Anatomy, you see all these Shonda Rhimes type shows.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, this was a major actress coming to do a weekly television show where every episode felt like a season finale, or every episode felt like a movie, and you had to come back each week to finish watching. Yeah. And it just kind of shocked me to see her do something like this. And I was like, because back then, big actors did not do silver screen. You went silver screen to big movie, then you just kept going there. But now you can do both because of streaming and whatever else, like the world that we live in now. So it was just, that was kind of a shocker.
Even A-listers don't do stuff that's like network and
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you still don't see people go, like if you see someone like Viola Davis going to TV now, it's like, oh, it's because it's a limited miniseries. Like it's 6 episodes. Maybe they'll do 3 seasons, but they'll be a few years apart. It's going to be 6 episodes the entire time. Like, and so, to have someone from the A-list come down to like network 24 episode season TV, it was like,
it was ABC. I think that show was on.
It was,
Shonda
Rhimes ran that shit with an iron fist until they fucked her over, and then she was like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
all right.
God, it we don't have to get off topic, but when Shonda Rhimes left ABC, that was like the greatest thing.
All they had to do was give her Disney tickets and
Right.
show her some respect. That's all she
Right.
asked for was some respect and some Disney tickets.
Yeah.
All this money I made you, goddammit. I can't get respect and Disney tickets? Fuck you. I'm going to Netflix with Bridgerton.
Yep.
Disney
Yep.
tickets are expensive. I can't
That
blame
they
them.
are.
Disney gets a ticket back every time I buy an Apple charger. Like they recoup that shit immediately.
Yeah. Or every time I decide that I need to see that, I need to own that Star Wars movie. Like,
Right.
I don't just
Right.
need to stream it.
Mhm.
I need to
Right.
own it. Like right
Even if I
now.
pay for fucking Mulan, they got that shit back in blood.
Oh yeah, they absolutely do.
So
Yep.
So
yeah,
the help.
Viola Davis.
So the help. Yep.
Rhimes.
Pivot on back on over to the help.
I'm gonna pivot back to the help because I think one of the charms of how this movie works so well is me and Sam talked about this when we talked about the last Tate Taylor Viola Davis collaboration. We talked about Get On Up, where we both felt pretty similarly about the movie, where we're like, yeah, there's a lot of story threads that are kind of not connecting, not always finishing out story threads throughout the movie. The help, everybody gets an arc.
Yeah.
And everybody's story is finished by the end of this movie. And I'm like,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
really hard to do with this big of cast, because even just looking at our like 5 main ladies of this movie, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Jessica Chastain, they all have an arc. There's a beginning, middle, and end to their characters, and it's, you understand all of their character arcs that go on in the movie. And I think one thing that really works well in this movie is how those unravel, because the movie starts and we get, the only time we ever see Viola Davis and Octavia Spencer for like the first hour is inside the home of the people that they're working for.
Making
for
a
sure.
Kool-Aid or
So
juice.
yeah, so we're not ever in their environment. We're always seeing through their eyes what they're going through, and I think that's a really smart choice to start the movie off of, not taking us home with them right away.
Right.
Later we get, what their home life is about, which I think is a perfect time to unravel that type of, that part of their character. But I love right away opening this movie of, oh, how do they know each other?
Right.
How does Octavia Spencer know Viola Davis?
Mhm.
Oh, well, it turns out they all live in this kind of other side of the tracks community that they all get on a bus every morning and go into town. And then they all go to work and then ride the same bus home and end up living in the same community together. So it's like, it's kind of us as an audience. We're along with the characters are kind of unraveling information. I think it's a really smart story choice for this movie too, that we're all immediately in their shoes to start the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, when we look at smart movie choices, right? So 2 things. The one is balance, because you have to be able to tell the story about the author, who is white, and the world that the author lives in and knows, and these maids or housekeepers that are black and live in 2 completely different type of environments, right? Or, for lack of better terms, on the other side of the train tracks, right? And so how do you do that with being able to tell about the struggles and everything that they're going through without being so overcome in the white side of the story, and then vice versa? How do you tell the story of the author without it becoming a movie about the everything that's going on, the civil rights movement, everything, that it becomes solely that? Then the other thing that I noticed was the color. Movies like this aren't usually this bright, but they'd stick with that 60s bright color theme, the dresses, the house colors, everything is bright, but the story is not bright, but they keep that same brightness throughout. So it's kind of interesting, because if you can detect the tone change, or you got to get really dark to get that emotion, but for all of them to be able to act in this brighter tone and still get the emotion across, I think it says something else about the movie decision and how we consume it. So I just thought that was interesting too.
Yeah. And I appreciated the payoff that introduction to Viola Davis has later, when we are finally invited into her home, when Skeeta is invited into her home.
Yes.
And the way in which that feeling of otherness that she has to sort of put on when she's at work carries over even there. And it it really puts a fine point on the nature of the relationship between folks at that time. Like it really puts a very good point on that whole idea of it is so ingrained into culture about how you act that even when your own home, you have that feeling of like you have to do things like. And I remember this moment where she's got Emma Stone in her house, and she even feels like she has to serve this person tea and take care of her in her own, even in her own home, where that maybe normally wouldn't be a thing. I just remember that being like, oh, so this isn't just we got introduced to her, but we never really got to see the real her. Even in her own home, we don't see the real her until that nature of that relationship is teased out and they become closer. So I think it's that whole payoff of that arc throughout, I think, is really, really interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Absolutely.
And I think another thing, since we are following Emma Stone's character, a big part of her character and what she's trying to do and telling this story of the help, the housemaids of these white houses, is she had this super strong connection to a woman that basically raised her from her birth until she went off to college. And when she comes home, she finds out that this woman is no longer at the house working for them. And she's basically just told, oh, well, she went to live back with her family in Chicago.
Right.
So she's gone. And we again,
Yeah.
as soon as we get the reveal
of that.
Yeah, the reveal of what happened, for me, that's the biggest, like, pulling on the
dying of a
heartstrings
broken heart.
Yeah, exactly.
That scene was, aside from the very like last 3 minutes or so with Viola Davis, I think that was the most emotionally wrecking scene of this whole thing. Like, I don't know. I should look it up. I don't know who plays the housekeeper in that, but like the look on her face as she is
Cicely Tyson.
Cicely, she's an OG. Cicely Tyson is an OG.
Yeah. She just,
she just passed away last
her
year too,
small role in this. Oh, did she? Oh my gosh.
Well, Cicely Tyson's been around. she's one of those like Sidney Poitier. I kind of put them in that same tier, right?
Sure.
But they've been around. They're OGs. When they make appearances, you know kind of what you should be in store for. And maybe that's just like a black cultural thing. Like there are certain people we have that it's like you bring them in, we already know, like Denzel. If I'm watching a movie like Fences, Viola Davis is also in Fences with Denzel, and it's like you two motherfuckers in the same movie. That don't even seem like this should be legal. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy because like that movie is, first of all, very, very good. It's a movie that
that's our next week movie.
Oh, you are.
It's a first time watch for I think both of us, isn't it, Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy that. Like that movie is just something different from both sides. It's like, but I think that's the other thing about Viola Davis. She compliments whoever she's on screen with well. She doesn't have to be the main face. She can also play 1B or she can be AAA up top, you know? And so she knows how to play because once again, she's not acting to act to be the best and get awards. She's acting to bring this character to life.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
And I can't see anybody else playing an Amanda Waller. I can't see anybody else being casted in this role. I can't see anybody else doing Fences. After she does roles, she makes it hard if there ever was like a recasting, like Marvel Universe type shit. But like, she makes it hard for the next person to kind of come in.
My only other argument is her co-star in this movie is like, oh, if you can't get Octavia Spencer, or if you can't get Viola Davis, we'll get Octavia Spencer because she's just as incredible and kind of adds in a different way. She has this warmth to her as well, in pretty much any role that she does.
Yeah. But Viola Davis can do that crying now. Yeah, she could do that crying and that snotting. And really get into it and really, you know, like really bring the tears to you. Like, good Lord. Like she really she's willing to make herself look crazy on camera. Like even on How to Get Away with Murder, she's got scenes where she's taking off the wig. Yeah. And you see the braids on there and you like, you going to expose yourself like this on this camera in front of millions of people like this. And she's willing to get invested in the role because you forget this is Viola Davis.
Yeah. Yeah, she's. I mean,
Well,
and that comes.
we
I feel
mentioned
like.
it.
Go ahead, Sam.
You go. Oh,
I was gonna
just
say
we mentioned on the.
we're not gonna do this. You're just gonna go. I'm not doing this today.
Okay.
This is like the first 3
I
episodes
was
when
just-
Brian joined our podcast. We were all doing this shit. Like, no, you go.
No,
you go.
please.
No, you
After
go.
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I swear, I do this with a guest every episode.
No,
I
it's
hate it.
good.
I don't know
Yeah,
I
why.
this
like
is
it.
fine.
No, you are good.
We were mentioning on our Get On Up episode that like it just doesn't matter who she's acting against. Like Viola Davis is one of those actresses that has chemistry with everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're like some extra that just wandered onto the set or if you're, Denzel Washington. Viola Davis is interacting with you as a character that's so fleshed out. It's like, how do you not have chemistry with that?
That's true.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's
For
no
sure.
way to not respond naturally to what she's doing because she's such a naturalistic performer.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's just, yeah, she's a talent that comes around like once every couple of decades. Honestly,
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's like you talk about perfect castings, and I mean,
Mm.
who else is going to be as ruthless as her Amanda Waller? When she's
True.
that
True.
scene in the Suicide Squad where she's threatening Bloodsport, getting
Yeah.
ready, like, and there's just spit flying from her lips,
Yeah.
and she's just got like a death grip on the. I'm just like, she's terrifying.
Yeah.
She is like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would not want to be in that room with her when she
No.
was doing that, even knowing that she's just acting. I can't imagine being one of the other actors in the room when she's doing,
Right.
That's true.
Because
What are you supposed to do in the back? I'd be like, I would break character every time. I'm like, oh shit, she really getting after it.
Going there. Yeah.
She's going crazy.
Yeah.
Viola, I'm sorry. Did I steal your sandwich and catering? Like, why are you
Yeah.
yelling at me so much?
Why was happening? And then you gotta. Then I'm gonna get fuck around, get fired because I'm. Oh, we supposed to be. I'm sorry, I forgot we was filming a movie. Man.
Yeah, we're supposed to bring the same energy. That's what we're doing here.
Right.
Okay, that's on me, guys. I didn't match that.
2 scenes
the
of
most
physicality in
unrealistic
this
part
movie
of that movie.
that come to
Oh,
mind
sorry.
are shut up, Sam. God. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I was just gonna say there's 2 scenes of physicality that come to mind in this movie. Is one where it's one of the other maids gets arrested,
yes.
and you just have Viola Davis getting held back by the police, saying like, "Don't fight it, don't fight it, don't fight it." And then the other one for me is where they're on the bus after this gentleman gets shot in the middle of the street. And they're told her and the gentleman from Get On Up, I forget the actor's name. He's really great in this really small role. But anyway, they're told to get off the bus, and she has to walk home by herself. And she just starts taking off running, and she like trips on her way home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What, Viola? You don't have to do this. Like, you're the lead of this movie. You don't have to actually trip and fall." But no, she trips, falls, gets right back up, and just continues on with the scene too. And like that's the type of just realistic physicality she delivers to all of these roles that she's in.
Well, and I think even the end sequence where she feels so confident that she's no longer a passive piece of the scenery, and she imposes herself in that conversation. Like that level of like, I know who you are, and I see you 100%. Like that whole conversation, she was the biggest piece in that room, and I think even that, like feeling that character's swell of like, I'm not gonna tolerate this anymore. You've already fired me, and finally trying to speak a little bit of her truth a little there in that last scene. That level of physicality, like you kind of mentioned, of like imposing herself in that conversation, not shying back, but stepping up and being a part of that, I think was also just such a cool moment and speaks a lot to her. So
it's also it's interesting when I look at entertainers, actresses, actors, people who act, people who make music, that kind of industry. Certain people can take classes all day. Me, I could take a pottery class, I could take an acting class, and there's just this separation of like you taking classes and you doing a couple play productions, and then just naturally having it. And I don't think that that's spoken on enough. Like, yes, we look at them and it's like, look at them celebrities, they get paid to just act, or we look at football players, like, look at them, they just get paid to throw a ball around. But there is this separation that does exist when it comes to that natural talent and skill set for certain people. And Viola Davis is up there. That whenever she decides to stop acting, I think it's going to be noticeable. That is going to be a void because there are roles I think that are specifically made for Viola Davis. Like, we're going to write this, and there's only one person we want to play this shit. And then there are roles, even Octavia Spencer, I put her in the same category, and Emma Stone too, because 100%. Emma Stone definitely has roles that is such an Emma Stone role, not in a bad way, but it's like that's just like that's just how it is, and we just got to give more props when it comes to that. Not too much. I don't want to feel themselves, but just enough.
But I think I think Viola Davis is cut from that same cloth that like Sidney Poitier is cut from, right? Like she's gonna do this until she physically cannot anymore. And that's I think why, you know, to Sam's point, like she's once in a lifetime. Like you don't see those folks who are willing to basically, when it comes to the end of their journey here on this planet, where they just hop off the stage and then they kind of go to a hospital bed and that's sort of it. Like that's pretty incredible and pretty special for sure.
I want to talk about some of the other performers in this movie that I think really stand out. One, because I think they look exactly the same in this movie, and I was kind of like, oh, Bryce Dallas Howard has 2 roles in this movie. Cool. Good on her. No, it's actually Jessica Chastain in a blonde wig. Those two, I think, are incredible in this movie.
We had that discussion on our podcast one time. I did a presentation.
Marcus had a presentation.
I did a PowerPoint slide of actors and actresses and people who look alike. And I definitely did Bryce Dallas Howard and Jessica like right next to each other because they do look alike.
Yep.
They do.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard is such the a perfect foil in this movie. She's so good at just playing, for lack of a better term, a conniving bitch in this movie. And she's so good at it. It's so easy to hate her. And then you see in real life how Bryce Dallas Howard is, and like, oh no, you're just a sweetheart, and
you're just a nice person.
You're just a super nice person who like should direct everything Star Wars going forward. That's just my opinion.
That's the census so far.
Yeah, that's the census. That's the truth.
She should have directed the she should have directed a Book of Boba Fett.
She should have kicked her dad off that movie he made and just done it.
I mean,
yeah. But
I disagree, but okay. I disagree on the last point, the solo point.
Oh right, yeah.
I like that movie as
Solo. I did like Solo.
Yeah. Oh man, where's Brian? Brian is over there.
Solo.
So Brian is our like resident Star Wars guy. So he's over there like somebody's saying something Star Wars. So someone is saying something.
Do you guys get it? He was solo. He didn't have anyone else with him. That's why his last name is Solo.
Oh, come on. You know what? That's like one part of a 2-hour movie, Casey. Get over it.
It is the most meh Star Wars movie ever.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Definitely
Skywalker wants a word, okay?
The help.
Somebody gonna need some help if you know how Star Wars fans are.
That's very true. Man. But I think you're right. I think both of them did such a good job. And I would say actually, like I think the casting choice with this was really well done for lack of a better word, the antagonists of this movie, because they were all so cookie cutter that they all looked so similar in this. And so the choice to cast folks who had a certain air about them and then also to put them in similar clothing and have them act a certain way definitely portrayed this as it's a group of, it basically really highlighted the point of the movie, which is the racial dynamic of the dominant group and the non-dominant group. And I think that's such a good choice, because I think if you gave each one of them personalities, there would be something about Viola Davis and Octavia Spencer and Emma Stone being up against them that just wouldn't have that level of, it just wouldn't drive home the point and the feeling of the time. Like if they made me hate them, like, and that's saying something. And that just goes to show, like, man, you really went there and you took it there and you weren't afraid to say and do the things that you did in that movie. You were like, nope, this is what the character would do. And this is how I'm going to act about it, because that's what the role demands. So I think both the casting choices for those and just the overall way in which they acted was really, really great.
Yeah, whenever like someone
Well,
pops up
even-
in this movie, like it feels like their character, you automatically know who they are, and they're pretty well fleshed out like immediately. Like as soon as Jessica Chastain pops in, you're like, I understand who you are. Like people have mentioned you already, that you're kind of the outcast weirdo that no one wants around. And then when you meet her, she's just Luann from King of the Hill. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly who you are.
Oh man, yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's a throwback for your ass.
That's
her accent and everything. She just sounds like Luann from King of the Hill.
All of that is incredible.
But even one of my favorite like guys that is kind of coming up now, and I was surprised that he was in this movie 10 years before he's kind of somewhat known, is Christopher Lowell, who was in Glow. He was in Promising Young Woman. Like he's kind of becoming a person of note now. And like for me, whenever he shows up,
I was trying to remember where I saw him from.
He's 2020's Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Yeah,
Promising Young Woman. He's the guy, isn't he?
He's that guy.
He's the guy. Yeah.
Is he that guy?
Oh,
He
no.
is that guy.
Marcus, is he that guy?
That movie.
When I
That
saw
movie.
him, I was like, why do I hate this guy so
Ooh,
much?
He
Yeah.
was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's got a punchable face.
That's what I was just gonna say. Every time he pops up, I'm like, I want to just punch you in the face.
I just want to,
but I kind of want to hang out with you because you actually seem like an like cool. He has that Rob Lowe vibe of I want to punch you in the face, but yet I think you're probably pretty funny and really cool in real life.
Yeah, I hate the way Rob Lowe smirks at me in commercials. Yeah. But like, I feel like he's a nice guy.
Yes. I hate that he's like 55 and looks better than I do at 27.
Yeah, fuck Rob Lowe.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's the
Rob Lowe.
That's the punch. You handsome
that's
motherfucker.
The thesis of this entire episode.
Yeah,
we're not underage girls, so we can't fuck Rob Lowe.
Oh well, you can do whatever you want to. That's the reality of it.
That's true. That's very true. And it's a welcoming. If you want to fuck Rob Lowe, live your life. That's fine.
Live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Live it.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, all of these characters were just so, like, I think all of them, I had a moment where I just wanted to shake them, and I just wanted to be like, can you just stop it? Like, please, these are other people. Please stop being like this.
That's
so true. I think they did an outstanding job.
Well, they did the job. That's what they were supposed to do. Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's why.
And even and making it and still giving them emotion, so you didn't just outright hate them.
Yeah.
You at least got some insight into why at least one of the characters were going through the things that they were going through and what their thought process was. Like, okay, you going through some shit don't mean you treat everybody else like shit.
Right.
I think the movie does a good job of, we have one person that we latch onto of like, I'm not ever gonna like you. I don't need to ever like you. You're a terrible person. That's Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes.
Whereas everybody else who's sort of the antagonist in here, including like Emma Stone's mom, who's played by the incredible Allison Janney in this movie, has sort of a redeeming moments in her character too, where you're like, I at least understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it. I understand it. And same with the actress who plays the mom, that Viola Davis of that family.
Oh yeah.
You can feel at the end where she's like, yeah, but I don't want to fire her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a better mom than I am, and I know that.
Yeah.
I can't say it though, and I'm not going to fight against it. Like, you can just tell that within the character too, where it's like, you at least have some redeeming qualities. Whereas Bryce Dallas Howard's like, no, you're a terrible person. Get out of here. Go eat a shit pie again.
Yeah. The point that is made in one scene is so seamlessly picked up and dealt with in another scene later that there's no wasted one-off statements. Like that comment that Allison Janney makes where she says courage must have skipped a generation, when then you fast forward to the end with that mother who's of the daughter, that there to me when I watched it was like, that's the point that Allison Janney was trying to make, is that it takes courage to buck against this system, and not everybody's going to do it. And that's why I'm so proud of you, because then right after you hear that, you see an example of someone who has an opportunity to show courage, but just can't feel that moment to fight against the system. Like we as the audience would hope that they would, because that whole moment you're sitting there like, Come on, just tell her to go fuck herself. Come on, you know you want to say it. I want to say it. Let me say it for you. Go fuck yourself. Like all of that, like all of that is my interaction with this movie. So when she doesn't, that's where that's such like a, oh man, that is just such a good payoff for
sure
for those points that were made and then picked up later. This is like when they wrote it and they structured it, and with the actors that they had, this is someone taking this, we just had the Super Bowl, taking this football of the point that the movie's trying to make and just passing it so seamlessly from one person to the next without it ever being dropped or left to deal with later. It's just really well done.
Mm-hmm.
What a great analysis. Look at this guy. You should start a podcast.
That's weird. I probably should. Yeah.
Do you guys have any other scenes you want to bring up or major moments in the movie that we haven't really touched on yet?
I want to ask a question, and it's just, maybe it's where my headspace was at, and I'm curious about y'all's input. So I want to talk about Emma Stone for a second, and I want to talk less about her actor and her ability, because I think she did an outstanding job. I kind of want to ask the role her character plays, because I think I kind of got this feeling halfway through that this felt like a little bit of white saviorism, a little bit of she's the one who's speaking on behalf of everybody else. And I feel like she's definitely glorified and idolized in this as being the one who's willing to sort of, for lack of a better phrase, willing to take down a system that's not giving voice to these folks. But I can't tell if it's just where my headspace was at, or if that's a legitimate thing that I noticed or picked up on. So just thoughts in general of just her character and that role maybe that she played in general within the movie.
You're not alone in thinking that, because I'm kind of similar, where the movie itself, I think its heart's in the right place. I think it does have a very good message of help, making connections, helping people, understanding where everyone's coming from. It does fall into a little bit of the white savior trope that we've seen before, where Emma Stone is immediately getting all of this. She's the one that gets to divvy up the money to everybody. She's the one that's got the job and moving to New York, all of that. But I also think this movie does an interesting thing of kind of calling that out at the end as well, where she's I don't think I'm gonna take it.
Oh, sure.
And they kind of say we're gonna be fine. We were fine. They're almost we were fine before you. We're gonna be fine after you. You've helped us and we appreciate it. But at the end of the day, this is still this is our battle. It's not yours anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't considered that.
I'll piggyback off that on because I had that vibe too, and I had another one. I'll throw right back to you guys after this. But for me, it's the scene that we were just talking about before about Viola Davis getting fired.
Yeah,
where she says to Bryce Dallas Howard's character, I wrote that. That's who that story is coming from. Sure, Emma Stone's character is credited as the author of The Help, the book, but she's I wrote that. That's my story. It's the reason that book is out and so popular is because of me.
Right.
And for me, that's what sticks out, and that's the character who, we could have easily in a worse movie or a movie that was kind of less having less of a grip on the cultural zeitgeist of the times, is we could have ended the movie of Emma Stone driving off into the sunset to New York.
Oh, sure.
We
Yeah,
could
good
have.
point.
But we end with Viola Davis. That's who we're leaving off with.
Yeah.
We could have easily left with Emma Stone. And in another movie, we could have just as well. But we're following
She's the first
Viola
one
Davis.
you see on screen too, right?
Yeah.
So
Viola
Davis and Viola Davis.
It's her. I think it's Viola Davis's movie, and really Emma Stone is just there as in real life being a voice that she can't have at the time, and that's how I felt. But I think there is some of it still in there, and again, it's 2011.
It toes the line.
We still have a decade before where we are now and stuff, but still, even like Green Book came out a few years
Right.
ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was about to say we're not that much better than
No, but
2011.
I think it
And that's
toes the
sad,
line
but-
and leans on the right side of who the story is actually about.
Got it. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
I did kind of question, you do kind of question, okay, why did, Emma, why was that book written? Because you wanted to be taken seriously as an author, or did you do it because it was the right thing to do? And I think at its base and at its root, when we look at white saviors in movies, it depends. I think it depends on who's writing it.
Sure.
It depends on how you execute the character and who's trying to, like, what is the story?
Sure.
Intentions mean, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but like I feel like your intentions determine what's being a white savior and then what's genuinely trying to be a good person and use your platform, privilege, whatever, insert whatever position to do the right thing for people around you when you see it. Like, are you doing it for the attention, or are you doing it because it's the right thing to do? And then when that attention comes and the praise comes and everybody's like, yes, hoorah, we're going to lift you up.
Look at you.
Do you reject it, or do you take it head on? Like, I did a great thing. Look at me. So
yeah,
to me, that's kind of how you have to do. And you just never know people's intentions. But when it comes to movies and films, you do have to be careful how you write these films, because there are like people a part of this story. Everybody, there are a variety of a diverse group of people that are involved in various stories, and you need all voices to get some shit done, right? You need allies, you need the same voices, you need all of that to get some shit done. But what are your intentions? And you have to be careful how you write those characters, because you're absolutely right. She could have just took that shit and ran. And it would have been like, yes, we're gonna pray. Yes, you did it. This movie was great. Emma Roberts then becomes best supporting actress because they wrote it in a way where she's the hero and she did a great thing, and we should reward that for that movie.
Yeah.
And so once again, it goes to balance. How do you balance everything out with the story that's being told, where it's not too much of this and too much of that?
Yeah. I have another trope I want to bring up that I was worried that the movie was going in, and luckily a scene that we talked about kind of erases that for me. But I think it's a little bit of is still there. It's kind of the trope of what they call the magical Negro. Is, the housemaid to Emma Stone when she's a child, of kind of just coming in, giving this advice, and then leaving. Luckily, we get the scene at the end with Allison Janney that kind of, I'm like, oh no, there's actually more character to this, and they're not just playing off that trope. But I think there's a little bit of it still in this. I don't know. Did you guys catch on that at all? I know, like, for me, like, Stephen King really relies on that quite a bit. Even a movie I was just talking about,
The Shining.
The Shining, The Green Mile.
Yeah. What was that movie?
Even as a Stephen King fan, there's some cringy stuff in those pages. Yeah.
I don't think I got that. I just think that to me, the history says that's the reality of how times were, even in slavery. Like, when you take it back then, they were doing the same thing with the children. They knew everything about the children, taking care of the children, doing all of that. They knew the kids better than the parents knew the kids. And then sometimes, even going all the way to breastfeeding the children in some instances, right? In some, in some stories and instances. So, I could see how it would be, but once again, it just depends on who's writing it. And because that one scene did happen to kind of close that, I think if you leave it open, then it becomes that. And if you rely too heavily on that, like Stephen King, you got to be able to close that circle and give it some depth, so it's not so it doesn't become that.
Yeah, I would say without that, like without the scene at dinner where she's told that she has to get out and she's fired, I would say it could definitely fall into that, but I didn't get that feeling. And I think that's, Casey, you brought it up, like that whole, like, because of the closeout at the end of getting more context and seeing what happened at the dinner. And then even the story of, like, your brother went and, like, tried to bring her back, but she had passed away. Like, I think a lot of that was avoided, thankfully. But yeah, I would agree. I think that's a good assessment from everybody.
Because I was really worried about that, having not seen the movie, of, oh no, we're going here. I think everything else is working well. We're going here.
Yeah.
But then when the scene happens at the dinner, which is my favorite scene of this entire movie, is Allison Janney's scene. I think that's a great scene, and a scene that, like, oh no, we're not just doing this trope that is in many, many movies. We're actually kind of saying something about it in a way too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing is like, that's the way it was in the book then too. Like, you know, even then at the end, she's like, you have to write about this person because they're not just a trope or a bump along the road. Like, you're trying to give voice to the person who had such an impact on your life. And she's kind of filling in for those others, or they're kind of filling in for her and what you can do to kind of bring power to that voice. So yeah.
All right, boys. I'm going to get into our last question then that we always end off on. Actually, before we get to that, I'll ask everybody to kind of go round horn quick. Give your score and just a quick, like 1 or 2 sentence, like final thoughts on The Help.
Oh,
Sam, you want to start?
Sure. I mean, for me, this is I think I gave it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but just talking about it, it might bump up for me. I don't know. I can't really fault a lot of this movie. There's nothing that I watched in this movie and thought, oh, that wasn't a good choice, or that was, you know what I mean? Like, everything in this movie really hits for me. The final scene with Viola Davis leaving the family, leaving like essentially her daughter, like, let's call it what it is. It's her daughter at that point. Having to leave her daughter behind, and like the harshness, like her finally standing up for herself and becoming more like aggressive, assertive, and like being like, no, I'm done taking this, but never losing tenderness for that little girl the entire time. Just the way she balances that, to me, I don't know. I know it's because like I just finished the movie like maybe 2 hours ago, but it's
still fresh.
It's stuck with me. That last scene just really hit home, and I think this entire movie is so well acted and goes on such an emotional journey that the payoff of that scene is just I don't know. This is my favorite this might actually be my favorite that we've watched so far for Viola Davis month, and it's definitely my favorite Tate Taylor movie. Yeah,
that's hard to top.
Yeah.
I'll say 5. I feel like it's an easy 5. I feel they're Sam is right. There's not a lot of things that you could just take in this movie and, you know, pick apart. Like, if you're gonna be nitpicky, I think you're just being nitpicky to be nitpicky. Because from my understanding, it's pretty much like the book. Give and take. You can never completely do the book right when it comes to film. You got to make adjustments. So I say 5. I think it's 5. I think you have a phenomenal cast. I think if they ever tried to remake this movie, it would be impossible. And it's just one of those classics that just will exist, and everybody will rewatch it maybe when VHS tapes come back. I don't know.
Hey man, VHS tapes are already back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bring it back. Bring it back. Retro.
For me, I would say 5 as well. I think for many of the same reasons that Sam and Marcus pointed out. I think the one interesting lens that I brought to this whole thing is, as a parent of 2 children, this movie pissed me off like top to bottom. Like, and not even for like a lot of the like racial stuff, but just anybody who wants to love my kids doesn't need permission to be in my house. Like, so the fact that all of these folks had to feel like guests just makes me really mad. So a 5 out of 5. I think the way in which that it kind of highlighted, I think as a period, almost as a little bit of a period piece, I think it just does such an outstanding job of taking you to that time, both culturally, both visually. I think it giving everything that underlying tone of the social justice movement. Like, I think all of it, the civil rights movement, like, was just so well done. And then the acting in it is just executed so well. So yeah, it's a 5. And I'd say like Marcus said, it's an easy 5.
I'm kind of with Sam, 4.5, just because it was a first time watch, but this is not going to be like an only watch for this movie at all. This is like Sam liked Widows a lot more than I did, but for me, this is far and away of Widows and Get On Up. This is easily my favorite of the movies that we've covered so far. I think this is
such an interesting spectrum.
Damn incredible. Yeah, it is. I'm hoping Fences does the same thing that this movie did for me, of kind of just blowing me away of how really great it is. And I think this is going to be a movie, you know, we're 10 years removed from it already, and it still has this aura around it of, The Help. That's one of the greats of this this time period, and I think it's going to hold on to that. I mean, we're already past the decade mark for it, so having that reputation still around the movie, I think, is going to help this movie in terms of how well it holds up in the history of time. And last question, then. I don't even know my answer to this yet, but what we always do is at the end of the show, we always pair our movie of the week with another movie for an ultimate double feature. So if you're going to watch The Help again with another movie, what is the movie you are going to pair it with?
Damn.
Oof.
Okay, that's a hard question.
I almost want to go with like my knee-jerk reaction, and I think it's just like the level of acting in it. I almost would say, if you're interested in looking at a period, if you're interested in looking at this period and seeing almost two different sides to the civil rights movement, I would watch To Kill a Mockingbird, and then I would watch this. And I would watch To Kill a Mockingbird just because the acting in it is phenomenal. I mean, the story there is phenomenal. It's another story that's based off of a book, highlighting, trailblazers of the time doing something that maybe hadn't been done and giving voice to those who maybe didn't have that. That's my double feature. Is I'd probably, if I had to have a double feature, I'd watch To Kill a Mockingbird, and then I'd watch this.
Nice.
Okay, I had to do a quick Google search. I feel like I would do this movie, and it's between two. For some reason, I'm thinking Just Mercy.
Oh,
So I would do this and Just Mercy because they kind of feel like the same time period a little bit. Not that far back necessarily, but it kind of feels like the same time period, and the same message. Or I would do, Marshall was also a good movie.
Oh, sure.
I like Marshall, but I would try to pair those two together. It depends on which route you want. If you want to see more Viola Davis, then you could go Ma Rainey Black Bottom to get you some kind of, and Fences. I really do think Fences pairs well with this movie.
Sure,
because it takes it to another step, and it's grittier and more emotional. So I'm actually going to just say Fences. Okay, that's fair.
Okay, good call.
Cool. You kind of mentioned one that I was thinking. It's kind of an easy answer, but honestly, like finishing this, I was like, it made me want to watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom again.
Sure.
Like that movie is just such a masterclass in acting. And I mean, it's based on like the stage play, right? So it feels at times a lot like you're watching a stage play.
Yeah.
And that can be to the movie's detriment, but it can also, like, on a performance level, it just makes it that much more.
That's true.
I don't know what I'm losing my words. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I absolutely understand what you're saying. No, I get it.
So I just think, especially, I mean, we talked about like Viola Davis being a once in a lifetime talent. I would also extend that to Chadwick Boseman, who I think is just absolute, like he disappeared into everything.
Yeah.
And to see them share screen time together is just, they're great together and get on up, but they don't have a lot of time like actually interacting with each other. They don't really have any time interacting with each other in that, do they?
Pretty much all of Viola Davis's scenes.
Yeah.
But she's in the movie very
often. Yeah. So, but I mean that those two bouncing off of each other and Ma Rainey is just it's next level. It's something that's just you can pick apart that movie all you want and like, oh, is it a movie or is it but like on a performance level, that movie is flawless.
I like that movie because it was like a stage play, just me personally. But
without going to a
rabbit hole, I did like that movie a lot.
It's great. It's one of the best of. What was it? Was it 2020 that it came out?
2020.
Yeah. It was, just incredible movie. So that's what it would be a really difficult to watch double feature, but
it's heavy.
Heavy. That's why for mine, like if I'm gonna do this movie's already 2.5 hours. I'm gonna kind of want something a little bit light, little breezy.
Mm.
The Help is already pretty light and breezy, even though it does deal with some heavier subject matter, but it still is a pretty breezy, well-paced movie. But I'm going to pair it with another movie that is sort of set around the same time with her Fences co-star, Denzel. I'm going to pair it with Remember the Titans because it is a movie that is kind of like, kind of the aftermath a little bit of the 60s era going into the 70s.
Yeah. It's a good pick.
Not too heavy. It's a very light, breezy movie.
Yeah.
Has heavier subject matter in it, but it's a breezy watch.
Streaming on Disney Plus.
Has to be.
It probably is.
It has to be, right? I have not
yeah.
watched that since high school, and I feel like I should rewatch that now because it was
Titans
so
is
good.
fun.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Just
That's a
keep it
good pick.
light
That's a
and breezy.
good pick. It's a good pick.
All right.
I was also
well,
thinking about doubling down on Octavia Spencer and just watching Ma after this, but
I am shocked you did not say Ma. I am shocked.
I do love her in that.
It's also
movie.
I don't know if anybody ever saw that other Netflix movie with her and Melissa McCarthy, Thunderbolts.
Thunder
something.
Yeah.
She's also in that. Now that's not like a award-winning movie. It is a goofy Melissa McCarthy kind of film, but
but they're fun in that. They have really good chemistry in that.
Yes. They had better chemistry than I thought they would, and especially because you see Octavia in The Help, and then you see her in stuff like Ma, and then you see Melissa McCarthy and different stuff, and she does more serious roles from time to time. But seeing them two together on screen is kind of crazy, but it worked out.
Yeah,
for sure. Doug, did you say what you was pairing this movie with?
I did. I said that you should pair it with To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie with Gregory Peck.
You went first.
But Marcus and I have talked about this movie. Marcus actually turned me on to this movie.
I love this
it's
movie.
a play with Tommy. It's a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson, and that's it. It's called Sunset Limited. It's set in an apartment, and it's based off of a play. It is phenomenal. So if you want to go like heavy, that's also like another good one that you could pair it with.
It's a one shot. It's the Sunset Limited. It's a one shot, complete, just all dialogue between it's Mr. Black and Mr. White, I do believe.
Yeah.
And it's just shot in this one room, this one space, this one scene, and they have this deep conversation and they go back and forth. It's the most amazing shit. I think it's like in my top 5, definitely.
Yeah. It's like, good. It's really good.
Wow.
It's really good.
But another
it sounds cool.
Another masterclass on acting for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Gonna have to find
and I looked it up on Letterboxd. It's 2011, so same year as this one.
Oh, that's crazy. I did not know that.
And Tommy Lee Jones actually directed it too.
Did he? I did not even look at
also did not know that. I really like the movie. Didn't know either one of those things.
This movie is fucking great.
That's cool. Oh my god, you guys weren't kidding. Cast on Letterboxd is literally just those two.
Those two. Just the two.
That's incredible. I'm very excited to check that out.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
God, we should have you guys on the show more. I've got a bunch of new movies I'm gonna be watching.
That's all we do. That's the life we live, you know.
We do. Oh man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I am so glad to have you guys on. We're gonna have to get you back on.
For sure.
Very, very, very soon. Let's get to kind of the end of the show and our plugs. Next week, like we were teasing pretty much all episode, we are talking Fences in our final Viola Davis movie for the month. Her and Denzel's powerhouse performances in that. That'll be our final film in our Viola Davis series. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, all at Backlot605. And then you can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and on YouTube. And if you could, leave us a rating and review on those. That would be awesome. Sam, where can they get a little extra bonus content?
If you like this stuff and you want more, you can get 4 bonus episodes at patreon.com/backlot605. We're doing 1 bonus episode a week, usually talking about a new release or a cult classic that's recently had an anniversary. So this month,
Sam's first time watching The Wedding Singer. What?
Yeah, or my first time watching The Wedding Singer, which was a major blind spot for me that I'm so glad I finally fixed.
Holy hell. I feel like you can't go in life without at least seeing The Wedding Singer.
Right,
at least
fix that too.
From it. Yeah.
Yeah. It shocked me that it took me this long. I mean, I'm 28, almost 29, and I didn't
Yeah.
I have no idea how I got this far without watching it, but I'm so glad I finally did.
Oh, I'm happy
That's
for
incredible.
you.
I'm glad too.
So yeah, if you want to hear that conversation, you can join it down on at
That's cool.
patreon.com/backlot605. We also did, what was our first one this month?
The first one was the Netflix comedy Home
That's
Team,
right.
starring the unrecognizable Kevin James as Coach Sean Payton.
I mean, that guy really he didn't do any prosthetics either, and I really just couldn't tell who he was. I really
Just like Viola Davis.
crazy. I mean, they are essentially on the same
He
level.
really went there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Took it there.
So yeah, at the beginning of the month, we talked about Home Team, a movie so good I forgot we even talked about it.
Why the fuck did they? Never mind. Never mind.
That's a whole other.
Never mind.
Marcus, that's a
Never
whole other
mind.
podcast.
Never mind.
And this week we'll be dropping a Schmuckies recap. We just had our big Schmuckies movie awards. You can still stream that on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
That's cool.
And so we're going to be doing a recap, talking about all the winners and the surprises that happened that night. And then we're capping off the month on Patreon with the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre hitting Netflix.
Nice.
That's gonna
I'm
be really
so
good.
stoked. Doesn't that hit Friday?
I
Isn't
think
it
you're right.
I think
Friday
that's
already?
soon.
week,
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
I
That's gonna
can't
be
wait
great.
to see Leatherface again.
Damn.
That's gonna be
So-
really good. And is it true they're doing that? That's almost like supposed to be like a sequel to the original.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
they're like
original,
bringing back
the
Sally
old
Hardesty.
original. Yeah.
They even have her doing the Laurie Strode thing where she's like, "I've waited for him for 50 years," and she like cocks a shotgun.
Oh,
And I'm just like, I don't care. It's cheesy. I don't care.
That's
I'm
fun.
in. I'm all
That's
in.
I
That's
still
everybody
somehow
doing
have only seen the poster for this movie.
oh
Like
man,
that's all
Yeah, I
I've,
haven't
like,
seen a trailer. I haven't
Um,
seen a trailer or anything either.
The trailer it looks like it's going to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel. So take from that what you will.
Yeah.
If you
Alright.
like the highs and lows of this franchise, you're probably going to find something to enjoy here, but
for sure.
it doesn't look like the original.
Yeah, well, there it
All right.
is.
All right.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, Doug, Marcus, where can they find films in black and white and anything else you guys want to plug?
So podcast next week, we will be live on our Facebook page and our Twitter. So at Films in Black and White on Facebook and at Films in B_W on Twitter. We're live streaming our 100th episode. So it'll be kind of like a walk down memory lane. We're going to ask some questions about how we got started, our favorite episodes, just some stuff like that. So we'll kind of dive into that. And then we'll do Uncharted the week after that, which will be a fun episode. And then the Batman is what we've got coming up. So that's kind of what's slated for us. And Marcus should expect that I'm going to bring up his thoughts on the suit when we actually do that episode.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Films in Black and White. Like I said, on Twitter at Films in B_W. Otherwise, we are streaming the same places our podcast that you all are: Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. Films in Black and White is where you can find us. I also do some silly TikToks on our TikTok page at Films in Black and White. So those are fun. And then we'll go from there. So, Marcus?
I've been trying
anything
to
I
get
missed?
Casey to set up a backlot TikTok for us.
Listen.
He won't do it.
It's dangerous.
The only TikTok we're ever going to talk about on this channel is from Return to Oz, okay?
I'll tell you what though, Doug had a TikTok that hit 3 million.
Yeah,
And
3.5
after Spider-Man
so,
came out.
Yeah.
And so he's really doing his thing over there. If you like to see the other side of the more personality from Doug, that's definitely the place
Yeah.
to go.
It helps that I work from home and I can take a break from an email and go do one real quick.
That's
Like
true.
if I were in an office, it never would happen.
He's invested. He did a whole Stone Cold Steve Austin bit.
That one
a
was
thing.
fun.
It was a
I
thing.
enjoyed that one.
But yeah, my Doug pretty much hit everything. Follow that. Celebrate with us on our 100th. Yeah, on our 100th. I'm gonna say 100th anniversary, 100th episode. Celebrate with us. My socials are just Marcus J. Destin. I have music out, me personally, so you can stream me. Same places you catch podcasts, same places you can stream me. Basically, that's just Marcus Destin. Share the music at Marcus J. Destin on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then __ the mantra is my personal brand. Follow the mantra: never offended, always humble. We have our stores open now, so go ahead, go copy you some gear.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Before we let you go, I'm going to ask you both, since we were talking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what's your favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie?
The first one is the only one I've seen.
I've also the first one is the only one I've seen. So
yeah.
that is an easy answer for me. Is that it's the only one that I've seen.
Yeah.
You guys got to check out 2.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we're both gonna highly recommend Texas Chainsaw
Okay.
Massacre
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
After,
All right.
If I can get through this weekend on Friday, then I will go and watch 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gross as hell, but it's also fun as shit. So I mean,
That is
That's a
fun.
vibe.
It is a
That is-
completely
vibe.
different tone than any of the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah, it's out there, man, but it's
Okay.
fun.
Okay. Is that the one where they have like a weird like out of place sheriff on like the movie poster? I feel like I've seen a poster and
Yeah.
it's a sheriff like running and that's like all it says. So I'll have to check
I
it
have
out.
no
I don't
idea. Dennis Hopper is coked out of his mind and wielding dual chainsaws.
Dual
So,
chainsaws
I
to
mean,
fight
like,
Leatherface.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that probably is the same poster.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Gotta fight fire with fire, I guess.
Yeah, if it works.
All right, boys, this has been a ton of fun. Can't
Yeah,
wait for your
appreciate it.
100th. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
by the
congrats,
way.
guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got to connect again and talk some more movies. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be fun.
For sure.
Doug, Marcus, thank you both for coming on. For Sam Lenz, I'm Casey Calderman. We will check you all out next week when we talk fences right here from the backlots of South Dakota.
Bye.